I want to cover where I get the parts to build the circuits. For the most part, I scavenge them. If I find or have any electronic devices, I don't get rid of them, except cell phones and maybe modern TVs, as those parts are not discrete, meaning they're not individual components such as resistors, capacitors, coils, things like that. You may, however, find some commonly used ICs or op-amps in some of those, but for the most part I don't look at those. But older devices will have discrete parts and some ICs and op-amps. Examples of some devices that are well worth scavenging are old phones, answering machines, and radios. By old phones, I mean old landline phones, not cell phones. Here's a picture of an old answering machine. If anyone you know is throwing out such items as radios or answering machines or something, I'd ask if I could have them. Now, I saved talking about old TVs for this last part because they're kind of special. Old TVs do have discrete parts, which is great, but there's one dangerous issue with old TVs, and those are the cathode ray tube, the picture tube, also known as a CRT. Any older devices with a view screen most likely has a CRT. If you get your hands on such a device with a CRT, be extra careful with those. Those CRTs are dangerous and they can be deadly. They act like a giant capacitor. You turn them on, and then you turn them off. They store electrical charge in them, and they can store that electrical charge for a long time, and it's enough to kill you. That charge can be up to or exceed 20,000 volts. If you provide a path from it to the ground and the CRT discharges, it will kill you. The 2 points on it to avoid touching are, there's a large wire on the side of the tube on a lot of them. It's a pretty heavy-duty looking cable, and it looks like it's suction cupped to the side of the CRT. I do not have a picture of one. And then it'll have this cable come out, and it goes around, and it's a thick cable. That is the most dangerous part. The CRT shown here is not from a television, it is from an oscilloscope, and it does not have the large cable on the side of it that is mentioned in the video. So not all CRTs have that cable. But also on the back end of the CRT, there are pins that stick out. There could be as many as 8 or 9 of them, maybe 10. And there's a cable or a ribbon wire that comes from them. And those can have, to a lesser degree, a large enough charge that could kill you. And these charges can stay with the CRT for years. You turn it off, it sets in the shed or something for a few years, it can still hold enough of a charge to be dangerous. So if you're going to handle a CRT, discharge it as soon as you can safely do so. I was going to do it, but I don't have a CRT to try it on. So I'm going to put a link to somebody that shows how to do it. You also want to be careful of electrolytic capacitors. Can store energies just like the CRT. They don't hold them as long, but they can still pack a punch. And so you need to discharge those. Those are easy to discharge. Now, also keep in mind that not all electrolytic capacitors are good in old equipment. Those will age and become ineffective, so they have to be replaced. But you can save them anyway. If it's really old equipment, be careful of those, that they may not be any good. I'm not going to cover surface mount components right now. We'll cover those later. Other places you can find parts are garage sales or yard sales, flea markets, and ham radio flea markets. You can buy a lot of older used equipment. Even little old transistor radios are good, and you can find those at any of those kind of markets. Now, when I get the device, I generally don't sit down and disassemble the whole thing in one sitting. I just shove it in a, shall we say, a boneyard area in the house or shed. And then, as I need something, I go out and pick at the device and get the pieces at the time I need them. Now, if you can't find what you need, you can buy parts online. If you do that, be careful with overseas sites that sell at really low bargain prices. They can have fake parts and products. One thing you should keep in mind when you're buying surplus equipment to use for components to take apart, kind of look and think how much it would cost to order the individual parts compared to buying a component and pulling the parts out. You may pay more for the device than the parts are worth inside. So you want to look at that. It's kind of hard to determine that, but over time you can think, okay, this video recorder or audio recorder or radio costs $20 at a flea market. Is there going to be $20 worth of parts in there? Probably, but you don't want to buy it if it's $100 and you can buy as many parts in there for $80. I wouldn't want to buy that piece of equipment. And I don't really have any guidelines to give you on how to calculate that. It's almost like a tuition thing. I wouldn't buy anything over, even like a ham radio that's not working, over probably $60, because I don't know that you'll get 60. You may get $60 worth of parts out of there. You may not. But the little like transistor radios, nobody's gonna ask $40 for those. I wouldn't pay $10 for those. I would try to get them free if you can, where people are throwing them out. So don't go out and think, oh, I'm getting a bargain by buying this radio for $90, and then you go and take all the parts out and look at ordering them, and it's like, God, I could have got these for $50 or $40 or something. But okay, I want to thank you for watching this. I hope it was useful. And if you like it, please like and please subscribe. Thanks again for watching.